Hi, everybody. We're the Skeleton Crew, and today we are going to be talking about another dinosaur that was in the Jurassic Park movies, which we haven't done for a little while now.
It's
Before
been
we talk
hot
about
this afternoon.
yeah, well, I mean, Pteranodon was recent, but Pteranodon is not a dinosaur.
Yeah.
So,
Good
Yes,
point on both
yes.
accounts.
Right. I remember my elementary school phylogenetics and the fun facts I used to use to torment people because I wanted to show them I was smart.
James, did you know that pterosaurs aren't dinosaurs, though?
Holy!
Scott, are you kidding? Scott, if you were to bring that information to a gathering of your peers and tell them that, they would value your social input so much. It's a great way to make friends.
I'm going to go try that.
Hey, we have a fairly successful YouTube channel, and it's basically that, but on a far more esoteric level. So,
And we take 2 hours to do it.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
our circle
people
of
like
friends
us.
is so robust.
Hey, speak for yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Scott is a real person.
a social butterfly. Anyway, couple things before we get into it. One, you may remember that we did a couple of fundraising live streams for the SVP Futures Award, the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology student grant that supports undergraduates from historically underrepresented groups in the geosciences as they try to embark on their first summer research projects. So, a very, very brief pitch for this is that doing summer research and volunteering in real labs doing work is an important way toward getting your foot in the door and becoming a paleontologist. But those opportunities usually pay quite little or don't pay anything at all. And so that presents a huge barrier to inclusion. The SVP Futures Award is designed to combat that so that it can allow people who otherwise wouldn't have the chance to participate in the paleontological sciences to have that opportunity. So we have done 2 live streams to fundraise for it. As things stand as of recording this video, I think we've raised about $8,000 in donations, which is amazing. What I want to remind you is that our fundraiser closes on November 25th. And if you haven't donated and want to support paleontology and the next generation of paleontologists, we would encourage you to use a link that we will put in the description of this video to donate to the fundraiser. That will be open for about a week after this video drops, so please take a look there if you can. And if you have already donated and you haven't yet sent us your address to be sent a sticker, because you get a sticker if you donate over $5 or $5 or more, please send us your address so we can send you a sticker. We have a lot of stickers left, and we know that some people have not given us their addresses yet. So you can email us. Our email address is in our YouTube channel bio, so you can find it there. Email us your address, and we'll send you your sticker.
And if you're not sure if you qualify, send another $5 and then also send your address.
Right. Or just send the $5 and let us keep the sticker. I want one too. I don't want to lose all of them. Anyway, that's all of that. Before we talk more about Dilophosaurus, little reminder for all of you. I feel like it's been a while since I've recorded one of these videos, but maybe time is slipping away from me at an ever faster rate. Like picking up a handful of sand at the beach and holding it under a crashing wave and feeling it slip through your fingertips.
Or an ice cube in a hot tub. That's my favorite.
I've never done that. Sorry.
Is it the beach that makes
That's not
you
my
old,
metaphor. I'm always at the beach that makes me old.
Every beach is a beach that makes you old.
Yeah. It just depends on the rate. I'm Dr. James Napoli. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences and North Carolina State University. And for reasons that I hope all of you will understand soon, I'm extremely tired today.
You will know.
You will all find out.
You will know it like the coming of a great storm.
My name is Amelia Zietlow. I'm a PhD candidate at the American Museum of Natural History. For reasons that you will probably never know, I'm also very tired today.
My name is Scott Johnston. I am the vertebrate paleontology fossil preparator and technician at Harvard University's Museum of Comparative Zoology. And for reasons that hopefully you don't normally see, I come with a collar that I can inflate to scare off predators. No, I don't know. That was really stupid. I just noticed I was wearing
stupid.
That was so dumb.
I noticed I was wearing my big collared sweater today, and I was like, it's like Dilophosaurus.
You can spit papal venom 8 feet.
I think it would have been dumber and more embarrassing had you planned to wear that today for the
Yes.
episode.
I didn't. I just
So
grabbed it.
Yeah.
You did a great job, bud. I'm Alex Rubenstahl, a PhD candidate at Yale University, and whether I'm feeling tired or energetic is none of your business.
I'm Dalton Meyer. I'm talking like this because I accidentally swallowed some sand from the beach that makes you old. So it only made my vocal cords old.
No.
I'm a PhD candidate at Yale University, and together
We're the
we're
skeleton.
the skeleton
crew.
Dalton, when you were on the beach, did you see my favorite patron of the beach?
Is it mid-sized sedan?
It is mid-sized sedan. How's he doing?
He's old.
Ah, damn.
He did get old pretty fast, in
On the
fact.
beach that makes you old.
Yeah. Mid-sized sedan is such a beautiful conjuring of a fairly okay screenwriter. Like if it were intended to be satire, I think it would have been beautiful and perfect. Because it wasn't satire, it was
So much
absolutely
better.
sublime. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's better. It is.
Hold on, I have not seen this movie. What?
There's a
Is
character in it.
He's a
His name is
rapper, and his name is Mid-sized Sedan.
And it's not meant to be funny.
No, it's not.
I mean, it's like his stage name. It's not as if his.
I understand.
Yeah, but it includes
I
the
looked
line
this
the kids.
up. What?
Yeah, and the kids get to the beach and they see him and they're like, "Oh my god, that's Mid-sized Sedan." And that was the line in the movie where I burst out laughing louder than I think I had in months.
That's
You
great
knew you
because
were in good hands.
it's great because the parents get really confused. They're like, "What are you talking about?" And the audience also gets to be really confused. What are you talking about? So you get to really be in the shoes of the character.
Yeah,
That's good
it's great
screenwriting.
immersive writing. Yeah, they call it deep point of view. Please
Anyway.
release Dilophosaurus
Release
Here
the
they come.
Dilophosaurus.
to the Kayenta formation that makes you old.
You do plan to have Dilophosauruses on Dilophosaurus. Look at these wretched beasts.
I really
Uh,
like them, and I'm willing to fight about it.
I have a Dilophosaurus tie that I forgot to wear that has a bunch of them with their frills on it.
Oh, that's cool.
And people see it from across the room. They're like, "Oh, I thought you had flowers on your tie,
Hey,
but now
look.
I don't know what that is." And then I
It's
have to explain
leaving. It's leaving the Connecticut River Valley dinosaur fossil tracks right now.
it.
Look at it go.
I have one
This
of my
barren
cloth-
wasteland is also known as New Haven, Connecticut.
Hey, it was a great swamp back in the day.
It's a great swamp now.
Amelia, you were saying.
I was just gonna add in the theme of Dalton's tie. I have one of my cloth face masks is a Dilophosaurus. Like,
Oh, I
thing.
like
I
that a
love
lot.
it. It's so good.
Oh, that's fun.
That's a good mask. Yeah.
Yeah, like get
Yeah.
close to me and I'll spit on you.
Do you think Universal sells cans of mace with like a Dilophosaurus?
They should.
Get some bear mace next time I'm out on a nature trail. That'd be that's. If you
That's
watch our
missed
videos and are
opportunity.
interested in merchandising, please contact me.
Merchandising.
Yeah, we have one Skeleton Crew branded product. It's a can of mace. So if you've been a paleontologist or a child at some point and you've seen this dinosaur in
I've done
Jurassic
both.
Park, I've done both of those things.
We all
I did.
You'll obviously know the thing you probably thought this video was going to be about, which is the retractable frill around the animal's neck. There are a couple of things I want to say about this.
Sure.
One, yes, we know it didn't have that.
cool.
Yeah.
We all know. We all know.
Full stop. Didn't
Full
have it.
stop. It did not have that. We would know because there would have been. Well, I mean, would we know? Probably.
There- maybe.
I
Almost,
thought
yeah.
with
But yes.
with frilled lizards, like they have a weird hyoid. There's a skeletal element to the frill. Was this published recently, or did I just see it recently? Because
I don't know.
I saw it
No.
going around somewhat recently.
It's pretty recent, 2019. There was a paper about
Oh
it.
no, okay. This was only like a couple weeks ago. Like I don't know why, but I saw someone post a paper about the skeletal contribution in frilled lizards to the.
They also have a really weird, like, very posteriorly extended part of the mandible that helps extend the frill, as well as like a weird projection off the back, because frilled lizards also do it a little bit differently in that the extending and collapsing of their frill is kind of tied to opening the mouth. And on Dilophosaurus here, it seems to be completely independent of that. Which,
Does it?
yeah, because they can in the movie they can like open it and close it when it doesn't have its mouth open.
I've only ever seen unless I'm wrong, I only remember seeing it with its frill open, with its mouth open. I could see
believe
like
it's-
it opening its mouth without opening the frill, maybe, but like I haven't seen it the other way
Well,
around.
Both
sorry,
happen.
it's more that it's
But-
both things.
No, in the scene where its frill deploys, I think the mouth is closed and then it starts snarling because it's kind of the surprise thing. Like it pops out and then the animal starts roaring. So it's not like
No, I
most
think it
of the
opens
time
its
the
mouth
frill is
first.
out. Does it? I really
It's
did think it was the opposite way.
No,
Maybe
I
it's
mean-
simultaneous.
I think
Like-
in any case. I'm sorry, Amelia. Go for it.
I remember it snarls and like it does its little hiss, and as it hisses, it opens.
Yeah,
Like it's not.
yeah.
I don't. Again, I'm fine being wrong with this because I haven't seen the movies 100 times, but like, that's
Well,
how
that's
I
the problem.
remember the scene is even when it's not making sound, it is kind of holding its mouth open.
Can I?
Yeah, I was. My
Sure.
thought
Oh,
is
no,
just that I think that. Oh, James, what have you discovered?
It is simultaneous. It opens the mouth very slowly and not a lot, and as the frill pops out. I was wrong. I
Based.
apologize.
Okay. But
Point.
I expect that this is not an intentional choice by the designers. That's a kind of level of scrutiny towards this made-up feature that I don't think. I think it's serendipitous that it opens its mouth and the frill deploys just because that's what looks cool. Because it's
But
not
also-
inspired by a biologic reality.
It could be though, because every time a frilled lizard does it, it's because they're opening their mouth, and like that's what that behavior does look like. Like, so if they're referencing frilled lizards to begin with, they see that they open their mouths to do the threat, and as they open the mouth, the frills deploy. Like it sounds like
Yeah.
to me, I would read that as they're just copying the behavior.
Yeah, maybe not with a deeper understanding of the anatomy.
Yeah,
but
no,
yes,
they don't have to know
yes,
why
yes.
it's happening, but like the behavior is mouth open, threat display.
Sure.
Yeah, because it is. I would echo Alex there that not with a deeper understanding of the anatomy, because you would assume if it was 100% the exact same thing that like earlier in the scenes when it opens its mouth, it would at least have some movement of the frill, which doesn't
Does
happen.
it open its mouth earlier though? Because it just
Yeah,
is, like,
it
chirping.
chitters and barks at
He's
him and
chittering,
stuff,
but
and
he's not really opening his mouth.
he throws the stick and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but
Well,
it
not-
doesn't open its mouth. It
Not to
just
be the
kinda-
ever. Sorry, Amelia. You
Go ahead. I don't remember it opening its mouth before it does the threat display.
like
The other
the noises
aspect
they
of the display in the movie is the mouth is bright purple. Like this is all intentional. Like I don't think not in the like biological way, but like they're very much copying the threat display of the frilled lizard.
Yes. What I was gonna say is not to be because Amelia, you're exactly correct. I think that
Thank
that's where most of this is coming from. I mean, even the coloration of the frill is very similar, right? Like
It's pale,
know,
yeah.
it's a lot of like maybe not the same design, but a lot of the same colors involved.
Mhm.
But what I was gonna say is not to be a very firm Doyleist here. But the reason its mouth doesn't open continually while it's on screen earlier is because that's a different animatronic puppet.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
made
yeah.
two. Right. One of them was the one that could hop around and be more mobile, where
Mhm.
the frill was collapsed against the body. And then they switched it out with a different puppet that is stationary that could have the frill deploy.
Which, fun fact, you can, in the scene, if you look really closely, you can see the fishing line. It's really fun. I always like pointing it out.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why it's not doing that. I don't think it reflects any of their anatomical knowledge whatsoever. I think it's like, why do you only ever see the T-Rex's feet and head?
That's
And
what
like
they
upper body. Like it's interesting that you don't see the animatronic shins they didn't build. Right. I mean, it's just I think that's what it is. The reason that I said before, would we know if this didn't have this, is not that I was wondering necessarily if there was skeletal correlate of the frilled lizard stuff, but I'm glad we all talked about it because I didn't know the specifics about it. But I was more wondering if those parts of the anatomy were preserved for Dilophosaurus.
They
Are there
are.
hyoids?
Yeah.
Well, the posterior mandible is. I don't believe we have a hyoid.
I don't know.
So, like,
Mm,
Amelia, you brought up the hyoid anatomy, right? That
Yeah.
that it's like weird in the frilled
I-
lizard.
If I'm remembering correctly, it's the okay. Dalton's nodding, which
It is.
No,
It's
it's
the
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 elaborate one.
ceratobranchials.
Yeah.
come off, and they form the bottom half of the frill.
And then it
Okay.
has like a weird, like, I want to say cartilaginous kind of triangular
It does.
structure at the top that supports the top of it.
Yep.
As well.
Yeah.
Might I
So-
share? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, we know it didn't have the frill.
Yes.
The second question is it a bad
Sorry,
thing that
I
they
don't
put
want
the
to
frill?
interrupt, but
Oh no, go ahead.
I don't want to interrupt. I'm sending you a screenshot that I just found where you can see the big ass hyoids coming off of
Okay.
the skeleton. Just because like it's much more obvious than I thought it was.
Oh yeah, that's really
Yeah, that's wicked. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yes.
weird looking.
I'll answer your
Yeah.
question because it ties into something I wanted to say, which is, it's not bad that they did.
No.
Allow me to explain. One, you're making a movie, and it's cool, and that's okay. It's okay to do cool things in a movie, and also perhaps a hot take or a take that reflects a deep tiredness within me. But if someone did this as art and put it on like the website formerly known as Twitter, everyone would think it was the coolest thing. And this structure is about as real as a certain other neck-based display structure in a popular documentary.
Yeah. I mean, Alex, this is a point familiar to me because I think I said it last night while we were playing Call of Duty.
Did you incept that into my head?
I did.
He did, yes.
I literally said this verbatim.
Lamau, Loli. Did you say the Titanosaur thing too? No, that was...
No.
No, that
that's
was you.
independent.
That was you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Whew, some independent thought still exists.
I will also echo that in that, like, even though, like, again, didn't have the frill, I love the idea behind it in that the whole reason why the frill was put on Dilophosaurus to begin with was that the creature designers wanted to have an anatomical, like, signal that also goes with the thing that they mention in the movie and in the books of that, like, there are aspects about these animals that we would not know unless we saw a real one. That it's like, oh, we didn't think it had this thing, but then we brought it back to life and it has an extendable neck frill and it's venomous. It was like, we didn't know that before. But like, yeah. Speaking
And
of
just to presage the comments, yes, we know it doesn't have a frill in the books.
Yes.
Yes.
And also to presage a point that we're going to make earlier, we also know it didn't spit venom or was venomous.
Right. Which we'll come along to. Are you familiar with the other aspect of the frill from the movie that was cut?
No.
Or was never fully realized. But one of the other inspirations for the frill. So there's and I'm sure we'll talk a lot about this. A lot of the weird eccentricities of the Dilophosaurus in the movie come from the fact that they really were trying extremely hard to make sure people didn't confuse it with the Velociraptor. They were like, we need to make sure that
it had some sort of weird head structure or something.
right.
Oh,
but
Or
its
maybe
name
two
meant?
of them.
We didn't do its name means.
we'll do that too. We'll get along to that. But like that's why it's small, is because they didn't want it to be confused. That's one of the reasons it has the frill. Another one of the reasons, beyond having like a structure that we wouldn't necessarily know about, is it distinguishes it from the Velociraptor. And a third reason is that there was a plan at one point. They wanted there to be a scene, and I don't remember if it was a creature designer, a paleontologist, consultant, someone involved in the movie, and we can find out later and maybe insert the name flashing here. Dalton, you should have remembered, you idiot. Someone involved in the making of the movie was like, we should have a scene where Lex and Tim are confronted by one of the velociraptors, and they have to scare it off somehow. And they use something they learned in the park to scare off the velociraptors. And then in the gift shop, there is an umbrella with a Dilophosaurus head on it that has the frill, and they pop open the umbrella at the velociraptor, and it sees the frill deploy from the umbrella, and it runs away because it thinks it's going to get squirted with venom. And I think even the umbrella might have like squirted water as like a novelty toy. And so that the idea of that umbrella popping out also informed the design of the animal for a scene that just never got realized.
I kind of wish
I
they
never
had
knew
that.
that.
Would have been fun.
There's
What a
concept
good
art for the
movie.
umbrella, and it's pretty cool.
I want that umbrella very
What an
bad.
awesome movie.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
talented-
remember when
that's
movies
awesome.
were
That's so
made?
cool.
Right. Remember
No,
when talented
no,
people who were
no.
passionate made movies?
We're not doing
They
this
almost
right
they almost do it though in Jurassic World because that one kid
Mhm.
hits the virtual Dilophosaurus button to stop whoever with his blue or whoever was
now.
chasing him.
Dilophosaurus meta.
Yeah.
That is, and I will point out also, this is Dalton's canon gripes. For a long time, people who were in the lore community were under the assumption that the InGen Dilophosauruses would have grown to the full size of a real Dilophosaurus, and that the ones we saw in the movie were small. They were juveniles. That seemed to be more or less confirmed with the hologram, because the hologram was as large as one of the adult velociraptors. And then when they brought them back in Dominion, they were small again. So
Maybe
I
they're
don't
still
know
babies.
I don't know what the truth is. They're also different
Yeah.
colors, so
There's also a this a little bit of canon that I know that apparently with I think it was either the Lost World or JP3 or something like that. There was like some online component of it where they had little dossiers for some of the dinosaurs, and they showed Dilophosaurus being 20 feet long.
oh yeah, that's in the trailers. In the Lost World, there's screens that pop
Yes,
up, and one of them is a big
and they
Dilophosaurus.
specifically say that it's like 20 feet.
Yeah.
Like in the books.
Yes, but
Yeah.
should we talk about what its
I-
name means now, or do we have anything else to talk about frill-wise?
Well, I have something to say for a while.
Okay.
This is, I mean, first of all, this is all very, very cool stuff. Dalton, I had no idea about that former scene that they
I've
had
heard you
wanted to slot
mention
in.
it at least
that in the
once,
art
and it's
book,
so
Dalton?
cool.
It might be in the art book. I don't know.
Yeah. But I just think that this is maybe an interesting point because I think and I want to be like transparent. I don't
Clear?
I don't want to sound like I'm singling it. Let me be clear.
Well, let me be clear.
I want to not sound like I'm singling anybody out, but I think that to a degree, there's a little bit of a damned if you do, damned if you don't thing when it comes to paleo art, where we talk a lot about wanting to allow paleo art and depictions of extinct animals to explore weird possibilities that we might not know from the fossil record, with like odd display structures, things we know modern animals have, and all of that. And yet, when we see it in any sort of major, like documentary or media production, there is a degree to which we kind of recoil against it. And with that, I don't. And I mean, I'll happily admit, like the neck balloons on the Dreadnoughtus and Prehistoric Planet are not something that I'm a fan of, nor do I think they're particularly likely. We'll talk about that at some point.
It's on the list.
Yeah, it's on the list.
literally-
Don't worry. We'll make a video about it.
We have to.
We do have to. But I think it is what I don't know what if it reflects like people being uncomfortable with the idea of these speculative things being more broadly disseminated. Like that we like it when it's within our professional community because we don't worry that somebody will misinterpret it. And like to that degree, a lot of cultural depictions of Dilophosaurus that are not paleontologically informed since Jurassic Park give it a frill. Just like the Jurassic Park T-Rex has been redrawn and modeled a lot of times. Just like Velociraptors become the model of Velociraptor.
Yeah.
But it also may be, to my estimation, a little bit of a response to knowing that a lot of these structures are quite unlikely. And that when we see them depicted in ways that feel very lifelike, they stop going from interesting thought experiment to, ooh, this does not jive with my understanding of what the animal should be like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, it's a nice idea to think about, but when I see a living, breathing Dilophosaurus deploy its neck frill and shoot venom out of its mouth, it feels wrong because we know it probably is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's an interesting psychological problem. I don't have an answer for it. It's just something I wanted to pose to our viewership, and I think you should comment to tell us how you feel about this.
It's kind of like a weird
I mean-
uncanny valley in a way.
No,
Right,
it's
yeah.
it's you know, you might not have noticed it, but your brain. The classic RLM.
On James's point of that we do encourage artistic license and speculation about these animals that we haven't seen alive, there actually is an interesting way that we can do that with Dilophosaurus, specifically with
What?
another one of its display structures, or rather its main display structures, which tie into what its name means. So, Dilophosaurus weatherelli, its name means the two-crested lizard.
Get out of here.
And its specific epithet is named in honor of John Wetherill, who is a Navajo Nation counselor, who it was Sam Wells, the guy who named it? Yeah. Who
Yeah.
Samuel Wells actually described as an explorer, friend of scientist, and trusted trader.
Trader or traitor?
Trader, sorry.
Okay. Just like
With a
trusted
D.
trader. That's a great phrase.
Trader! No. No. But so, Dilophosaurus is found in the Kayenta Formation, which is on Navajo Nation land.
Huh.
And, a lot of the...
Mhm.
I don't know where I was going with that sentence, but yeah. So I'm glad that it was actually named... it was named after someone from that area who helped out with the discovery and research.
Cool.
But so let's talk a little bit about those head crests. In the fact that, so I teed this up of that would be a fun area of speculation. And that's because even though Dilophosaurus is named after those iconic head crests, we don't know that much about how they would have looked. Either both in life and in skeletal form, because
In death.
they are in death. Because while there are like, what is it? Like 3 pretty good specimens of Dilophosaurus, none of them have a full crest.
Ba-dum.
It's
So,
pretty bashed up.
Yeah, it's
It's real bashed.
mangled.
Bash.
Yeah.
If you look
Sorry, you
at
go
the
ahead.
if you look at the like very nice skeletal drawings that they did of the like redescription in 2020 that show the skull, it kind of just looks like it turns into like crushed crackers above its head.
Mmm. Good for making crab cake.
Creme de la creme a la Edgar. Just, that's what I think of when I think of crackers.
Interesting,
God.
confusing, and
Yeah,
upsetting.
all right. Well, anyway, I think we should talk about the head crest and not whatever's going on in Dalton's brain right now.
Oh, do you not-
Aristocats.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
do you not know?
I know. Oh,
I haven't
yeah.
watched
Now I
Aristocats.
remember,
That's
now that you've said
fucking
Aristocats.
Ages.
I have not
It's been a
seen
long time.
Aristocats. I'm sorry.
You should be. But
Sorry,
let's talk
did
about
I just
crests.
real quick? Can you go back to the head-on view? While it's sleeping here, do its antorbital fenestrae like expand and contract when it's breathing?
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh, that's
I think a lot of the
cute. I didn't-
dinosaurs do that.
Huh. I
Which
didn't
is
notice
not
that previously.
Unreasonable.
Yeah, I mean, there's air in there.
Well, that is an
There's
interesting.
air in them sacks.
That does have some interesting implications for how it would have looked in life.
Yeah, actually, that's a very good segue. Good job, Scott.
Yeah, shall I take it away?
Take it away.
Take it away.
Right, Jimbo?
Well,
Take it
so
away. Take it away.
if you look at the illustration, and I'm forgive the blinding light that's about to wash out my video panel here right now, but I need to open the paper. If you look at the skull
blinding light of
reconstruction,
knowledge.
yes, this is the blinding light of knowledge. Be not afraid, it says. If you look at Figure 66, panel 2, this was a skull drawn by Brian Engh, a really talented paleo artist. And it's a restoration of the skull from a number of different specimens, but they left the shape of the head crest uncertain because we really don't know what it would have looked like. And so they didn't guess. They just kind of show what's actually preserved. But what you'll see is that the lacrimal bone is forming this kind of long, pointed, curved outer ridge and seems to be covered by a depression more medially on the skull. It's kind of like it's cradling something. It's shaped kind of like this, or like this, as you would see it. And it's contiguous with a giant dorsal expansion of the anterorbital fossa, which is this depression between the eye socket and the nostril that's holding essentially a gigantic sinus, right? Sinus would be not really the correct word, I guess, but sinus is fine
Well,
for you
no.
to understand it.
Are you talking about the antorbital sinus?
Yeah, no, yeah, it would be a sinus, right?
Yeah,
That's the
it's a
correct
sinus.
phrase. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was thinking about the fact that we don't use the word air sac for that. Which,
No,
but-
it's
right.
a cranial sinus. Yeah.
And that's
Right.
where the closely related taxon Sinosaurus gets its name. No, it isn't.
Oh, anyway.
It is
So-
not.
It is
This is
So I-
misinformation. Scott Johnson is spreading misinformation.
My personal feeling based on this, and I remember Scott and I kind of had this realization at lunch one day at the AMNH, because this came out when, January of 2020?
It wasn't. Oh yeah. I guess this was when I was still at the AMNH. Yeah.
Yeah, it was right before disaster struck. But we were talking about this at lunch, and we were looking at it, and I think that there's a gigantic dorsal extension of the interorbital fossa that's residing on the side of the crest. And I think art by friend of the channel, an amazingly talented paleo artist, Henry Sharpe, actually kind of shows that. I haven't really spoken with him about the piece of art, and so I don't know if that was his direct intention, but it shows a kind of laterally, like, it looks like a very soft and kind of inflated structure. Instead of being what we normally see with Dilophosaurus' crests, where it's covered in keratin and it looks like it's modeled after the casque of a cassowary.
It has been
which it's not.
explicitly said that it's based off of either the casque of a cassowary or off of the I guess it's also a casque of the helmeted guinea fowl.
Right, yeah,
Yes.
that's also a casque. And I think a little bit of, like, hornbills come in there as well.
Hornbills as well.
Yeah, I really doubt that there was a lateral covering of a lot of keratin on this animal. I think it was skin, and I think this entire thing would have maybe even moved a little bit as the animal breathed. It's
Cool.
it's just a dorsal, a huge sinus.
Well,
If not-
Huge.
do you think it may
Huge
have been a
sinus.
balloon? We've been talking about balloons for some time, but some kind of like I'm doing my stupid floppy display.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that's that.
Really?
That's that. Then.
yeah. Because the amount of actual air pressure you need to, like, think about how you blow up a balloon. You
Yeah,
have to make
and,
your
like-
mouth real narrow. You need to tighten everything, and it takes, like, kind of a lot of oxygen to even get a little bit of air into the balloon. If
And
you're
animals
within
that
your
make-
own, sorry,
Sorry. No. Just yeah. Go ahead.
yeah. Well, I mean, it takes a tremendous amount of pressure to move that amount of air, and I don't like. I think you could probably do some of the fluid dynamics of it. I don't think it's possible to really inflate. I think it could have maybe, like, been a little bit bulged.
I want to
But
put
I-
asterisk.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's a pressure drop thing. It's like if you're blowing out of your lungs into that space, or if you're inhaling, which is even worse because you've got some sort of motion in the body somewhere. It's not a hepatic piston probably, but something is moving that's causing your thoracic cavity to expand. That's drawing air all the way from in there. I don't think any archosaurs are known to have any way of, like, closing off the trachea so that they could direct that instead into the sinus. So it can't be done during inhalation. It would have to be done during exhalation.
Well, there's also
And that
like,
means
a lot
that
of-
they're forcing all of the air in their body, like, through a tube. There's a lot of pressure drop that occurs. You need to be like an air compressor or something. I don't think this is something an animal can really do.
No. And I think that's evidenced by the fact that animals that do make balloons, extant ones, do it in their throat.
It's a good point.
And
Oh.
which ones are
Go
you
on.
thinking of?
I'm thinking of. I mean, I guess it's closer to the throat, but I'm thinking of like sage grouse.
Those are on the throat, aren't they? They're, like, on the side
They're
of the...
more. They're more on the chest, or they
Well-
maybe they're extending down. But
Yeah, I mean,
What
on
I'm
the chest as
saying
well.
here is not the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also in those animals generally. I don't actually know in sage-grouse, but I know in, like, frigate birds, they have to pump air into that gular pouch for a long
Yeah.
time. It doesn't just, like that.
hooded seals, they do it on the face.
It's a mammal. I don't care.
They do.
Okay,
although
birds are
I
better
will-
at breathing out than mammals.
Well, I don't actually know if birds are better at breathing out. I
They
would say
certainly can
mammals with the
afford to do
diaphragm. No, they can. I mean, the unidirectional flow in the lungs is going to change a lot, but I think that the diaphragm of a mammal, especially one that's designed for, like, high, like, being submerged underwater, is probably enough to force a lot of air in there. It also, like, the hooded seal thing is not immense compared to the body, like, to the size of the animal, and it might have specialized ductwork that allows it to go into that.
It's pretty substantial compared to the rest of the animal. Let me throw a picture in chat because it's actually, I forgot that it's actually two inflatable structures. There's the big red one, and then there's the one on the forehead as well.
Call of Duty Big Red 1.
It's the... So
My great granddad was in that.
he was
The
in Call
game,
of Duty.
really?
In the real one.
That's pretty cool.
Anyway, I want to just say this about this because we're at risk of getting into a little fight about the blow up part of the animal. I want to emphasize this. A large part of this is depending on the soft tissue anatomy that's
Yes.
allowing these structures to be inflated.
Mhm.
And within archosaurs, we kind of know the architecture of these spaces. And this is a cranial sinus. There's not going to be specialized tissues. Like animals are, evolution's creative, right? Sometimes you get valves and aerodynamic valves that don't even have a soft tissue structure, but the dynamics of the airflow cause certain holes to be like blocked off. It's really cool.
Yeah, a feature of archosaurs in this discussion of ballooning, especially dinosaurs and birds, like they have these very holy skeletons, but we only know what is interacting with the bone, and the structures themselves that are like excavating the skeleton, like whether it's in the vertebrae or in the sinuses of the skull, are not like they don't appear to be well connected. So the respiratory systems, it's not a tissue that's often like movable. You as a person have a ton of sinuses in your face, and you can't do anything with them.
Right.
In fact, a lot of the time the
Sometimes it hurts
sinuses are
sometimes.
well, mine hurt all the time. But that's what happens when one of them decides, "Hey, I would like to occupy the same space as the molar roots on the right side of his jaw."
Low even.
It's a cool thing. One time on an airplane, I don't know if I've told this story on stream, but I'll keep it very brief. I had a
story.
massive sinus headache, and I could not. I thought I was going to have to ask them to land the plane because as we were ascending, it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And it was a flight from San Francisco to New York. So this is and we are just taking off from San Francisco. So I am like 10 minutes into the flight, and I'm in agony. And I'm feeling all this pressure on this side of my face, and it's like kind of nexusing down into my tooth roots and everything. And I don't know what it could have possibly dawned on me. But I remember just taking, and I think it was the canine, and I just pushed it as hard as I can with my finger. Like, I was just like, I feel like this will help. And I felt, I kid you not, a jet of cold air on the side of the tooth as the headache alleviated. Because those spaces in my head are connected. I know.
Scott has not heard this before. Like, I've heard this story before, so it's not throwing me, but Scott's like having a crisis over there.
James, what the
I know. Well, this is the thing, and
what is wrong with you?
Well, here's the thing, right? Sinuses grow opportunistically. They will kind of start excavating bone around them if they can. One of the only real rules of ontogeny that's known to be pretty widespread is sinuses get bigger as the animal grows, generally.
Do you have a pressure release valve?
Well, it's never happened again, but it was an incredibly odd thing. And literally as I felt that cold air as it was like jetting down over my sinuses, and I don't know if the air was actually cold, but it's moving fast, so it feels cold. The pain just alleviated as that happened. It was insane.
He's got
a pressure cooker.
He's an X-Men with a superhero name of like Spigot.
His
ability is to get horrible
X-Men.
headaches and then relieve the pain.
Dr. James Napoli, also known as Instapot.
The point here is that sinuses are widespread, and they can do kind of funky things. And they tend to grow a lot, and they like to grow. According to Larry Whitmer's research on the topic, they really probably are just growing on their own. Like, they'll go where they can. And sometimes that causes problems, like in my teeth. What I want to emphasize is that the sinuses, broadly speaking, to my understanding, at least as currently thought, in a lot of these animals are and in you, are dead air. They're not ventilated actively. Like, when you inhale, you're not blowing air through your sinuses. They are filled with air because they're connected to the respiratory tract. But they get stale, right? This is not something that's actively being changed out a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. So, as far as I know, the anterorbital fossa, or the anterorbital sinus, rather, that occupies the fossa in life, is probably not going to have modifications possible that allow air to be rerouted into it to make an inflatable display structure. And that volume of air motion, I think, would be quite difficult for the animal to achieve.
That's a
I have
well-reasoned
question.
response.
If not for inflating, could this affect calls?
Possibly. I think it depends a lot on the internal architecture of the soft tissue, and we don't really know that.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
I just thought it might be interesting if it's almost a soft tissue like soft tissue resonating chamber or something. 'Cause, again, like I know it's not like we just said. Probably not having the architecture to be inflated, but I know that that's a lot of like the way that like again sage grouse and stuff make their weird ass calls for splens.
Yeah,
I
that
just
is
had
a different kind. Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just had an idea based off of that, a very stupid idea that I'd like to share with the class. Which is,
There
you
are
know
no
those
stupid
little,
ideas, Bill.
you know those little drums you can get that are like, it's a stick and it has a drum head and two little balls, and then you turn it, they like boing against the drum. If these are just hollow, if these are just empty spaces full of airs, what if there's a soft tissue ball and it shakes its head and boom, 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 boom.
Absolutely not.
You know,
I said when I said before there were no stupid ideas.
I said it was
I don't
stupid.
think I meant it. Yeah, no, that's on me.
Yeah. The one thing that I think is worth maybe bringing up in my own pet hypothesis for this, I don't know if this is provable, and I've never planned to work on it, so if any Skeleton Crew viewer is so inspired, it would be cool to see if I'm right. But a lot of groups of theropods are doing things with head crests around this time, right? Like it's popping up generally throughout Theropoda, and it's not one group or clade that's being diagnosed by this, right? We have Dilophosaurus. We have like afterward in geologic time, but relatively quickly afterward, we have Monolophosaurus. What?
This will also get brought up
like-
when Alex talks about
Phylogeny.
phylogeny
Yeah.
and
We
talks
have-
about how these were hypothesized to be ceratosaurs for a little.
They were.
Yes.
We have large excavations on the lacrimal in allosaurs, where it's kind of doing something similar, but it's smaller. And proceratosaurid tyrannosaurs are characterized, at least as far as we know, all of them are characterized by midline cranial crests with a lot of fenestration. I remember Amelia particularly noticed how complex the fenestration was on Eutyrannus when she had to draw the skull for our Redbubble
Right.
page.
Mhm.
Right. So proceratosaurids are also coming from the Middle Jurassic. That's the earliest time we know them. And so around the same time, there's a tremendous amount of innovation with this kind of thing. They're all doing it differently. They're not homologous to each other. I'm wondering if it's something that's a consequence of a transitional state in theropod respiration. Like there's some sort of consequence of development of the respiratory system that it caused this brief moment where it made sense to do this. You know, I don't know exactly what it would be. I mean, that's kind of all I can think about. It's kind of like I wonder if there was a period in time where basal synapsids really like to have giant dorsal fins. Like, I mean, dorsal fin is maybe the wrong term, but like a sail, right?
Mhm.
Dimetrodon, Edaphosaurus, things like that. And I do wonder sometimes if it was related to thermoregulation as part of a transitional period between ectothermy and endothermy, where you may need additional help regulating your body temperature. And so it makes sense to have a really tall, thin structure that you can turn into sunlight to help warm up or turn into the breeze to help cool down. It's the only thing I can think of that would explain these weird periods in evolutionary time where you have multiple origins of the same weird anatomy that is kind of restricted in time. I don't know. I think it's just it's really just an idea. I'm not trying to build to an answer here. I don't have one.
Right.
But it
No,
is
earlier
weird
when I
that
said
the
there were
middle Hey. It is weird that the early middle Jurassic is when theropods tend to have cranial crests.
I guess.
Of this sort, especially. Like these big pneumatized things that are like extensions of the antorbital sinus system.
Yeah.
Because Oviraptorids get crests later, and they don't seem to be crests in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like they're kind of a unique kind of thing, and they are very early middle Jurassic in appearance.
I think maybe it's the result of some kind of novel adaptation in either how the cranial sinuses are expressed, perhaps it's extrapolation of the cervical air sacs, but like, I mean, our examples of them aren't really that particularly close in time.
I guess
Like,
that's true.
Dilophosaurs are 30 million years before Monolophosaurus. Proceratosaurs have them all over the place. Why would some groups lose them? Apparently all theropod, right? Like,
Yeah.
why is it retained in Proceratosaurus into like the early Cretaceous? Like, I very much doubt it's some kind of environmental or ecological signal.
Oh, I do
But-
as well. Yeah, I think it's something intrinsic.
Yeah, it's not impossible. I just, yeah, I think, and I might, perhaps I'll be laughed at. Laugh at me if you will. I'm going to say display structure, but in terms of bones where growth is irregular, and I think where perhaps some kind of mutation or something could drive the development of a weird and divergent structure, I think tissue that is like replete with sinus that develops irregularly is probably a good part of the skull to make a billboard, like something that would change and then be captured by selective pressure, perhaps.
I agree, but it's weird that they are kind of restricted in time. Like every group that has these tends to either go out or lose them.
Kind of.
Well, I mean, they always just go out, right? But like, you're not getting late Cretaceous theropod groups that are characterized by this ever.
No, that's true.
You know, I mean, listen, the fossil record is tremendously incomplete. I have to say the line.
He said the thing. Take a
You
shot.
said the thing.
I did say the thing, but like, it's kind of a local phenomenon. It's not an incredibly short window. It's not like it's 5 million years of time, but like, there's a definite window where we know about these things. Tyrannus is the only weird holdover example, like into the late Cretaceous. Or in the early Cretaceous, rather. Sorry.
But I mean,
Past
that's
the
still a
late
huge
Jurassic is
amount of
what I meant
time,
to say.
and like,
Yeah, no, it's a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I listen. I'm not. Again, I'm not arguing in favor of a particular hypothesis
I know.
right now.
I'm just thinking about it.
I do
Yeah.
also just want to. Oh no, sorry if you guys aren't done waffling about this.
Just on the crest thing, I was just looking closely at the model, and is it covered in skin, or
It's a little
Keratin.
unclear. It's not
Like-
scaly like the texture of the skin. It's pretty
I'd
thick.
interpret
it
that
does
as
kind of look
keratin.
casky? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably intended to be keratin.
Okay. Just curious.
Which like, yeah, as like yeah, we said that. So, but one of the things I do want to say about the crest
Mhm.
shape before we fully move on to something entirely different, I did mention at the beginning, and in fact launched this whole segment by saying that this is something that would be very, very, very much up to interpretation. We do have, because we don't have any of the extent of that head crest. We do have a very gorgeously preserved head crest of the closely related species Sinosaurus that I made a dumb joke about earlier. And on Sinosaurus, because that is just a stunning skull that was like described just like a little bit ago, if memory serves.
Yeah, it's been known for a while, but only recently got a nice visualization.
Yeah, and on Sinosaurus, it's almost like I don't want to say disappointing, but it's almost kind of what you would expect on Dilophosaurus, except a little lower. It's like a little bit lower. It has that big like hole in it, the little like fenestra in there or whatever you want to call it. And it's a little lower down, ends kind of more. If you look at this guy, like the crest and ends in pretty much the same place, like right above the eye, sort of thing. And so, like, if we were being conservative with the reconstruction, probably looking something like Sinosaurus would be probably
Whoa.
safe. But given that there is at least one specimen of Dilophosaurus that has a head crest that seems to be a whole lot taller, I think that head crest shape is an interesting area to be a bit more speculative in Dilophosaurus. Namely, the things I'm thinking of are, hey, Scott brings up nice things about Prehistoric Kingdom. I like that all of the different skins of the Prehistoric Kingdom Velociraptor have Velociraptor. Oh,
I'm
jeez.
Jesus, but
Are you the feared audience?
I'm the test audience, and
I can't tell these apart.
of
Oh,
all
no.
of the prehistoric kingdom Dilophosaurus have different crest shapes,
Mhm.
and I think that is a really, really neat nod to the fact that we don't actually know what this crest would have looked.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you want to do? Phylogeny next, or how are we feeling?
Should we talk about Venom a bit while we're still
Venom.
talking about things that the movie did? Also, for people who are a little confused or who want a reference, the kind of the part that's coming off of the lacrimal that would have connected more to the crest is this little spur. It's illustrated as a spur back here because before we realized it was all part of the same system, it was kind of thought that they've got these two fans and then there's a little back guy. And now it's more clear that this is just all part of the same, probably like vaguely
I do really like the spur, though.
circular shape. I also
like the spur.
Richard Spur, rip.
Yeah, let's talk about Venom, and I guess we could talk about it in both a like a real paleontological sense of like, is there any evidence that this animal had venom, and then also kind of
What is Venom?
well, a demonstrational sense, I guess, of like one of my, I guess, hell, I'm taking this off. I could start with
He's
this.
got it.
One of the
Go
things
for it.
that it's always been a little bit of a bugbear for me in the depiction of Dilophosaurus, whether it is the novel or the movie, or I guess any other Dilophosaurus since, is the idea of Dilophosaurus using this venom spit offensive.
Yeah.
That of all of the, I say all, of the venom spitting animals that are extant, that is a defensive. That is not an offensive feature. It is not like the closest thing that I can think of is archerfish.
Yeah.
But this isn't that. And the way that it is always portrayed is this is something that this animal does as a prelude to an attack, of spits venom in the prey's face or in its eyes to blind it and disorient it, so then it can come in for a safer attack. And while that kind of makes sense for us as humans, like it's the biological equivalent of flashbanging a room before you go in. That doesn't seem to be something that animals do. That venom, if it is used offensively, is something that is injected rather than projected.
This is an area where evolution, despite being very creative, is not creative enough to invent SWAT tactics.
Yeah, because venom is
expensive.
It's got a riot
expensive
shield
to
on
make.
its neck.
The idea that maybe, right, like spitting it defensively, I guess, kind of makes a little bit of sense, where you're like backed into a corner and you're like,
Well, yeah.
See, that is another thing that I think that the design of the creature and the way it behaves are at odds. That like an extendable neck frill as well, that's a defensive feature. That like cobras and stuff do that when they are backed into a corner. Cobras don't extend the neck frill when they're about to attack prey.
Right. I think this is
It'd
a
be cool
common.
if
It would be much
so
cooler
cool
if they did. Especially that king cobra that was loose in New York City for like 2 months.
I have one. It's not really a frill, and I know that we are in an invertebrate antagonistic channel sometimes. But
I certainly am.
cuttlefish,
All the time.
cuttlefish do that weird display thing before they attack. Some of them anyway.
Yeah,
They
the
do the
mesmerize.
flashing.
Yeah.
So like, it's not without precedence, but I don't think like vertebrates don't. I don't think there's
But-
vertebrates that do that. But
hold on.
And I think, to my understanding, Amelia, correct me if I'm wrong, but that they do that kind of because it overloads the neurological system of their prey, right? Like it actually stuns them.
Yeah, it is
I
a
think
flashbang.
so, yeah.
So it is literally a flashback.
Now,
Okay.
someone who's is
But
steeped
that's a
in
good
the
point.
lore
Yeah. Yes,
better
Alex.
of the film than I am.
Mhm.
Could we interpret the scene with our good friend Nedry as he is actually frightening the little Dilophosaurus? He threw a stick and he's like, I don't much care for that. And it does a defensive display, spits at him, wiggles the frill, and then it's like it realizes that he is in fact not very dangerous and eats him. I know this is not the intention, but
You could.
is there anything in the film preventing
In the
this reading?
text.
I would say that personally, the behavior of the animal is precluding that. That is not the body posture or behavior of an animal that is scared. That is the body
you've seen
posture.
a living dinosaur? You know what?
Yes, Alex, I have. Yeah, because generally speaking, Alex makes a very good point. Generally speaking, animals actually don't have analogous behaviors to each other.
No.
The way that a dog acts when it's scared is so different from the way that every other animal acts that
Yeah.
they cannot be compared to each other in any sense. You make a
Fight-
very good point.
Fight or flight only evolved a million years ago. Before then, everything stood still and did this with its head.
Mm-hmm.
Right. What I was going to say is that I think that this gets into a common kind of pattern, and it's something paleontologists complain about a lot, and I don't think it's unjustified. Animals are always depicted as if they're trying to kill people, right? Like they're always hunting, and they're always trying to be scary to an audience, which involves standing still and roaring and everything, which is not what animals do when they're trying to kill things.
I want to make
What?
a point against this, but
Go for it.
well,
Fight.
No. I will say that I would agree with you 99% of the time, with the exception of actually Jurassic Park. Because I think that there was a level of detail gone to in the behavior of these animals to an extent that if you, through an animal behavior lens, analyze some of the scenes, then I think that they hold up even more. My favorite one for this is the T-Rex breakout scene. That if you know anything about animal behavior, if you're looking at how the T-Rex is behaving around those cars and stuff, that is not an animal that is hunting. That's an animal that's playing with a new toy in its environment. It just happens to be that this is an animal that's 8 tons and has a bite force that rivals construction equipment.
That
It rivals a
nuclear
nuclear
bombs.
bomb, actually. Yes.
Scott, please watch our content.
Please watch the skeleton.
Yeah,
Really
Yeah,
good.
that's a good
Please
point.
read
That's a
the
good
lore, okay? Read the lore. Yes, but-
especially also obvious that later on when the T-Rex is hunting the Gallimimus, it behaves differently.
The T-Rex does. The Velociraptors suffer from this quite a lot. There's a lot of scenes where they're standing still and screaming at the camera. And I think that
Are
this
there?
may be... There's a lot... Well, so there's a couple I can think of. One is when it hunts Muldoon, the Velociraptor pokes its head out of the foliage right in his face,
Snarl.
hisses at him dramatically, waits for him to say clever girl, and then attacks him.
Well, that's because it has a sense of drama. It has a sense
It-
of irony.
it-
It's
does.
the smartest dinosaur.
It does.
It's a clever girl.
There's
read
the
its
scene in the
scene
kitchen
directions.
where the Velociraptor's about to leap after. I think it's when Tim is running away, and it gets on the counter and it hisses and recoils and then leaps at him. Whereas
It's the bit where she's in the dumbwaiter trying to pull it
Oh,
down.
Yeah, there's
There's
right.
that, yeah.
Yeah,
there's
it
a
does.
lot of this, and I think to some extent it's okay because it is what scares the audience a lot. I think it would be equally scary if you actually had the animal behaving like it's hunting, where it's being quiet and difficult to track and it kind of appears out of nowhere. But I think a lot of the time this issue could be alleviated by creating the situation explicitly as one where you could expect the animal to be scared
Right.
or being defensive, and you get that behavior and you don't have the issue, right? If the scene had gone that the Dilophosaurus pops out and it's just curious about Newman, and it's just walking up to him and kind of hooting at him and looking at and sniffing him, and he gets scared and he hits it with a stick or something, and it
And then it
responds
goes.
by going inflation. You know what I mean? It's not a
Yeah.
huge change to the way it has to be. It's a thing that screenwriters could change a little bit and make work. One of the more upsetting scenes of animal on human violence in recent filmmaking history is the bear attack scene in The Revenant. And that's just a mother bear protecting her cubs. That's what really happened to that guy. That's the situation exactly. But what I want to say is I think this is something kind of untapped in the dinosaur media market. I would love to see an artistic depiction of, I don't know, a mother T-Rex trying to protect her babies, or the father T-Rex in a lot of cases. where like, yes.
Is that not just the entire plot of the second Jurassic Park movie?
Well, it is, but I mean, like, specifically a situation where it is abruptly, like, frightened. Like, they don't even know it's there. And then it's just,
I see.
I mean, trees crashing down around. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It would be apocalyptic.
Yeah, that
Right,
that kind
like-
of that depiction of the ocean moment of you've walked around the corner and you see a little baby next to you, and then you look up and lock eyes with the adult, and you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna die right now, aren't I?"
Right,
yeah,
but
I've
instead
had-
of being a grizzly bear, it is a fully grown Tyrannosaurus Rex.
I had
Oh,
that experience
yeah, actually, almost
you did?
like this.
with a deer. Yeah, I was attempting to better myself during the pandemic, and I was out for a run, and I crossed this. I went down this little path at the park at the end of my town, and it's not a big wood, and I was just kind of running by, and I was just like, oh my god, to my left of this little fawn. I ran right by this little fawn on the left side of the trail. I'm like, oh my god, a fawn. And then something moved to my right, and I'm like, oh my god, I've just run between this fawn and this thing on my right. And then I was chased a good distance by a very angry deer. And then I stopped exercising.
That was the sign to stop.
Yeah, listen,
Yeah, I was like, I've been clowned on by like a white-tailed deer. I'm never going to recover from this.
right. But you see, the only difference between that and the mother T-Rex is that after that experience, there was still a forest there. It didn't look like the Tunguska meteorite had just impacted the Earth.
You know,
Yeah, good
also,
point.
now that you mention it, it's almost like what they did in Jurassic Park 3, where they're just like walking along and then just like, oh, carcass, oh, T-Rex.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's elements of it in both. I think the key difference in the second Jurassic Park movie is that it is the parents are trying to get the baby back,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it feels like calculated in a way where I want the sudden explosion of fairly unintelligent animal fury of like, you know,
That was one of the runner-ups for the name of this channel. Sudden explosion of unintelligent animal fury.
right. I mean, listen, it's like watching drunk people in a bar fight. Like, it is just instinct. There is no pre-planning, there's no choreography. They're just wailing on each other. I like
Well,
that a
like-
lot.
As the Lord intended.
Not that Alex, I thought you were gonna at least like with respect to happening upon a predator when you don't expect it. When we were at the Cincinnati Zoo, we were in the
Oh
nighttime.
god.
We were in the nighttime cat building, and Alex and I turned the corner to the eye shine of a clouded leopard staring dead
Yeah.
ahead, and that was
Yeah.
the most
I had a
primal
prey
reaction
response.
to like fear that I've seen. I didn't see it at first. I saw Alex react. You like physically jumped backwards a little bit.
And that's how we know which one of us would survive a jungle situation. Because I'd be gone and Amelia wouldn't have seen
I
it
hate
yet.
when I get into jungle situations. I really like that phrasing. That's really good.
That's what it was. It was a jungle situation.
We're in a full jungle situation here.
It was not. We were in a night hut.
It was
I
really
was
cool.
That was
expecting
cool.
eye
That was
shine,
very
and then
cool.
that
Cincinnati
was
Zoo,
so
great
cool,
zoo.
though. The
Oh,
cat hut was incredible.
Cincinnati, good zoo.
I've
Uber
I've
drivers.
only. This is not a fairly unintelligent. Yeah, the drivers were not all great.
He
I
was fast. God bless him.
yeah, that man booked it.
You weren't.
Um,
No, were you? You weren't in the one with us that
No,
we
you
had.
went on the one
Very
back.
fast.
No, the one
yeah.
back.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the one there.
No,
No,
I don't think
no,
I've
that
ever
was the
been
woman that
angrier
refused to move
in an Uber.
the car seat. Yeah, no, the one on the way back, he was like listening to like talk radio, but also talking to
Sports
us.
talk radio.
Sports talk radio and like talking to us and like, hey, at a conference, that's cool. And just like, for me, like it was really funny because it was like the first time in Cincinnati that I felt home because it was like, oh, this is like Chicago type driving. Like, okay, I know what, like I knew what was happening, even though it was horrible.
Like that man swerved 3 times in the course of the drive. Once was not his fault.
Yes, it's true.
No, one time,
Um,
yeah.
Oh my god, no, the Uber ride there was infuriating.
I've never been
You mean the?
angrier at an Uber driver.
The woman who was like, yeah, I know that on the app I say I have room for 5, but I have put a baby seat in one of them. That is
Unmovable. Enjoy the Uber XL that you're gonna have to squeeze into the back.
that's why taxis you can't do. You got to support the local taxi.
It's true.
You do. What I wanted to say is, in my experience with primal fear, I know Scott was there for it. This was at the Bronx Zoo. Do you remember the gorilla enclosure? This was not a fairly unintelligent animal.
I do.
And we were this whole time at the zoo, I don't know exactly what I was on. It was I woke up on the weird side of the bed that day. Not the wrong side, but the weird. It's like I was laying sideways on the bottom.
Did you wake up on the jungle side of the bed?
I woke up on the jungle side. The whole day I was in this place where I was like, I'm going to do threat displays at the animals that I see.
That
And see if they get upset.
you almost got in a fight with the iguana as
Yeah,
well.
the iguana.
Which was
It was a rock
hilarious.
iguana. I just like put my hands down on the enclosure next to it and did like a push-up display, and I saw it like start to puff up and get angry, and I was like, okay, I feel bad now. I'll walk
I've
away.
never seen a reptile act that quickly towards a stimulus before. Like you did it like once or twice, and this thing went from laying on a rock to standing up, looking right at you, and it was just like you were just like, I'm going to fight this thing right now.
I know
Yeah.
we've said this before privately, but you are the Frank Reynolds of our group, because there's an episode where he goes to the zoo and smacks on the glass and eats bananas in front of the gorillas.
Well, well. So we get to the gorilla enclosure, and we see the giant male, like silverback gorilla, kind of sitting, holding court around the troop that's mostly females and younger males. And he's kind of looking off into the distance a little bit, and it's like soundproofed, so I don't think they can hear anybody inside or anything, because it would stress them out. And I was just like, Scott, watch this. And I just did a little, like, just a second of chest beat, and I just see the gorilla go from this to... Like, it laser-eyed, like, just like a turret. It's just...
Did you really make sure to bare your teeth too?
No, I didn't do that. But I was just like, I mean, the amount I thought I would... I really had to check to see if I had pissed myself, because I was so scared instantly. I went back to being an Australopithecine in a world that has Paranthropus in it too.
James would not survive a jungle situation.
That was
and not because of any. I wouldn't make a mistake. Well, I would make a mistake. It would be like I'd be doing okay, and then I'd be like, I think the gorilla likes me. I'm gonna impress him. Just a little.
That was
They'd
one
find
of the
bits of you.
fastest turnarounds between around and find out I've seen in a hot minute.
I found out so quickly. It was the scariest moment of my life, because you really do feel sometimes when you deal with predators or like very dangerous wild animals, like that kind of, I call it the monkey fear. Not the fear of monkeys, but the fear as though
As a
I am
monkey.
still a monkey. I experienced this last weekend when I was at the pig roast that we did at my PI's house, because I was manning
Explain.
I was manning the bar. I looked at the pig, and the pig looked back at me.
I got
No,
the monkey.
I had monkey fear a lot, because I had to repeatedly. So here's this thing. In barbecue, I now say, having done it once, as if I'm an expert, but in barbecue, you don't want to have, at least in North Carolina style, you don't want open flames in the barbecue pit, because the smoke from them is very acrid, and so it does not impart a good flavor to the meat. You want heat from like the coals, from the new charcoal from a fire. So the setup we had here is a giant old barrel that had been used in like industrial production of acetone, that has
Yum.
since been like cleaned out, with rebar put through it to form like an elevated platform. So we're burning a lot of wood in there. We get the coals out from the bottom, and I had to like shovel them from there into the pig pit. But sometimes it would ignite some of the wood we had put in there for flavor, because what you want is like heat and a slow burn without an open flame of some cherry wood that's in there for flavor. But I dropped some coals accidentally on top of it, and so it was lit on fire. And I had to like basically go in there with the shovel and like roll it around and tamp out the fire. But to do that, I had to be between the burn barrel, where we're burning a really, really hot fire to like reduce whole pieces of wood to cinders in like minutes, and the barbecue pit. And I remember I'm standing there and I'm like, this is a little warm, but it's okay. And there's this moment where I don't know what it is, but the way I described it to Lindsay afterward is I felt just that rapid transition in heat where my ass was about to ignite. Because it goes from, this is a little uncomfortably hot, to this is the hottest thing I have ever experienced, and I'm wedged between the fires and everything. So I felt trapped, and I said I felt like a monkey in a forest fire. Like it was just it overrode my brain. I was like collected and doing this, and it was like I dropped the shovel and ran because it was just panic. It was like, you know what I mean? It's amazing how quickly you lose the kind of cognitive processes. Like it was pure animalistic panic. Like I have to get out of here right now. Pure fight or flight. I had to do that 3 or 4 times throughout the day, and each time I wound up basically bolting away from the fire. And then you know the little you know kind of you like touch something or wiggle it to like try to cool it down. Well, it's my ass, right? So I'm just like walking around, like patting down, like I'm drying my hands, just like gotta cool down.
James twerking to get rid of the heat on his ass. Oh no! I gotta throw it back.
I got my hands on the wall. Like
I can't twerk myself out of this jungle situation.
Okay. Oh, turn that off.
Oh, I just got lightheaded.
Please.
How have we gone so far from Dilophosaurus?
That's a good question.
hey, Alex, you want to do phylogeny or something?
Sure.
Before we do phylogeny, let's just return to the brief point because this animal wasn't venomous. And
we didn't finish that.
And it was the idea of venom was proposed in part by Michael Crichton as like here's a thing you wouldn't know, like Scott was saying, here's a thing we wouldn't necessarily know from the fossil record, and we cloned this dinosaur, and oh my god, how could we have foreseen that it was venomous? A cool idea, and they're like I do love the idea. Unfortunately, we probably wouldn't know if it was venomous because pretty much everything that is venomous they have to have a mechanism to deliver the venom, and in vertebrates that tends to be the teeth, at least in reptiles. Mammals that are venomous do a lot of weird things. But we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But venomous reptiles tend to have characteristic tooth morphology involving grooves in the teeth, and sometimes those grooves are so elaborated that they become tubes, like you see in vipers, to deliver the venom, because the venom is produced in modified salivary glands, and then it comes up through the tooth into the body. And we there are fossil animals that we think were venomous. They're not dinosaurs, but there's this weird creature. We're not sure what it is exactly. It's a reptile of some kind, probably an archosauromorph, called Wachitodon from the Triassic, which we've wonderfully only found teeth of, and I think maybe a partial dentary, but we've never really found them in place. But you find it in the Chinle Formation, and it's these little tubes, these little teeth, and they have venom grooves on them that are very distinct. It's like, okay, this thing is clearly venomous. No dinosaurs have that feature.
And there's a good paper on venom grooves about Astesia from Mongolia. It's a lizard from Mongolia where they talk about the grooves on the teeth, and that's how we know that one was venomous.
Now, correct me if I'm incorrect, but venomous fossil snakes are also pretty rare in the record, right? There aren't a lot of vipers or lapid snake fossils, right? And I'm not that they weren't venomous, just that
they're not rare. Common. But I mean, I think if I had to guess, those groups probably originated in the Cenozoic, and most of the snake fossil record is vertebrae, so we find a lapid and viper vertebrae all the time.
Okay.
And then there's that one Therocephalian.
Oh, yes.
Oh, right, yeah. And
Euchambersia?
Euchambersia?
It's funny you bring up synapsids, because as far as evidence of venom in fossil organisms go, while there's not evidence of a venomous bite, there is evidence of spurs in some ancient mammaliforms, I think, that were likely venomous spurs, much like a platypus, which is pretty cool. I don't remember what the name of the animal is, but James is smiling. I don't like that.
No, I was just remembering something we said a few minutes ago.
Oh, okay. Sure. And also, and I guess it's also worth mentioning that there was very briefly a a proposed venomous dinosaur,
True.
not Dilophosaurus.
That's what
but
I was just going to bring up.
Sinornithosaurus. Oh, well, here, go ahead. Don't let me take it from you.
Well, Sinornithosaurus wasn't venomous, is the thing.
Yes.
So, there's a couple of reasons that we know. So there was a paper about this, and this made it into, was that Planet Dinosaur,
I
that
think so.
documentary narrated by
Mhm.
John Hurt, which is
The
kind of
BBC
unfortunate
one, yeah.
because there was a response to the paper published really quickly because we know Sinornithosaurus wasn't venomous. The part of the evidence that they brought up in favor of this was their apparent presence of grooves on the teeth, which are common to a lot of theropod teeth, because those grooves are not venom delivery grooves. They are resorption pits from the next tooth that's forming in the jaw.
T-Rex had them.
T-Rex has them too. And T-Rex was not venomous, lest anybody misinterpret what we're saying in the video.
Be cool if it were, though.
It would listen, the bite
Yeah,
force
this
would
would be
atomize
overkill.
the venom. Yeah. It's, hey, in case you survived a bone-crushing bite force that will literally cause small animals to explode, you're also now envenomated. So the thing is, what happens in most theropod dinosaurs, primitive birds are not like this, and some troodontids are not like this at least. But generally the new replacement tooth, because if you don't know, dinosaurs replace their tooth or their teeth
Their tooth.
throughout life.
Toofs.
They're one tooth. They
They
replace
pick one
it.
and they gotta stick
They
with
pick
it the
one
whole
and they
life.
replace that one. Right.
We talked about this a lot in last week's video on Nichosaurus.
We did. And so this is a general trait of like vertebrates, and I think vertebrates in general, right? Like when they have teeth, the teeth get replaced throughout life.
Everybody but
continually.
mammals.
Yeah.
It's everybody but mammals. And that
You know,
seems
I'm-
to be related to the evolution of precise tooth occlusion in mammals, which is not that the teeth interlock with one another, but that there are specific like ridges and pits and valleys and all these sorts of things on your molars that have to occlude with each other perfectly for the tooth to function.
James,
Yes.
do you, or anyone really, so like the fact that, or at least early on, tooth replacement is very high.
Mhm.
Do we? Is it possible that is a carryover just from like the fact that there are a lot of scale, like right, that like teeth might be derived from exterior scales, and maybe like
Maybe.
it's an
Maybe.
abundance thing that comes from that? Because right, like a pavement of shark's teeth is like very dense.
I mean, I
Right.
wonder if it comes from the fact that, like, if they evolved as an integumentary structure, like those, by virtue of being integument, need to be replaceable. Like, if you get an injury, they need to heal.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
so,
yeah.
like, it's kind of a not pluripotent's not the right word at all,
No, I know what you mean.
but they kind of have the capacity
Right.
to regenerate.
Right. And so mammals are the only group that have lost this. And like not all mammals exactly have 2 generations of teeth throughout life. Elephants do something weird where they like cycle molars in so that they're only ever using one of their adult molar pairs at a time. But generally speaking, you'll have your milk teeth or your baby teeth, and then those will fall out and be replaced by your adult teeth. And if you're not a member of a species that has apomorphically shortened its face, they will interlock with one another. Unless there's a pathology, they'll interlock more or less perfectly for the precise kind of grinding and feeding strategies that mammals have. So dinosaurs, like all other vertebrates, are replacing their teeth throughout life. I always get bothered when I hear documentaries say, like a shark, they replace their teeth throughout their lives. Because I'm like everything. Like, but I understand why they say it. So,
Old man yells at cloud.
old what happens in dinosaurs is that the young tooth that's like the replacement tooth, it grows kind of on the medial surface of the next tooth. So it's in the socket, but it will grow over time and descend. And as it does that, it resorbs the root of the tooth that's adjacent to it until the root is resorbed and the tooth falls out. So
Pretty cool stuff.
you tend to get this wasted figure 8 section, like cross section shape on the tooth, and that was mistaken as a venom delivery group
In Sinornithosaurus.
in Sinornithosaurus. The other problem is that the teeth have, in most dinosaurs, have slipped out of the socket a little bit, and the slipping really shows a much more extended groove because that's the resorption pit. But now that you've exposed a lot more of it, it really does look like a venom delivery groove. So it's an unfortunate misinterpretation of some of that. I think they also interpreted an odd structure within the anterorbital fossa as a venom gland, but that is
Yeah.
not
Oh, right, yes.
That sort of pitting is common in Microraptor and Dromaeosaurs.
I've also heard at least some references that apparently Sam Wells mentioned something similar for Dilophosaurus in one of his papers, that these nutrient foramina in the maxilla and stuff could be for venom glands. That is apparently only referenced in his book on it, which I have not been able to find an online copy.
Interesting. I had always
So I don't know if that's a real.
I had like always heard apocryphally, at least, that like part of the reason why it was proposed, like Michael Crichton. I don't know if he came up with the idea whole cloth, or like one of the reasons
he didn't. I believe Greg Paul did.
Okay, it was because people had interpreted Dilophosaurus as having like a particularly weak bite and kind of like puny teeth, and were like, oh, it must have needed something else in order to hunt.
That was back when it was thought to be a coelophysoid, which, I mean, well, what is it now?
Speaking of phylogeny,
a good segue.
Also, before we do phylogeny, I just would like to very, very, very briefly say, an animal with a mouthful of teeth is going to use that to hunt prey, and the bite force, unless you're something like T-Rex, it's enough. You have enough. You have steak knives for teeth.
You are Knuff.
Anyway, you are Knuff. Anyway, a joke I wanted to make earlier is we could certainly say that Dennis Nedry would not survive a jungle-type situation. Anyway.
He didn't.
Phylogeny. What is it? What is phylogeny? No, I'm kidding. This is... Oh, it's not, because we've talked about both... Have we talked about Herrerasaurus in this?
Yeah. You did Herrerasaurus when I was down in Brazil. And
right, and we've also done Coelophysis. Or have
No.
Have we?
Yes.
No, we haven't done Coelophysis.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We did Coelophysis.
We did Coelophysis. I could put some in here if we want. Some Syntarsis.
Sure.
But
anyway, all right. So never mind. It's not the earliest diverging theropod we've looked at, but Dilophosaurus is an early diverging theropod. So you'll recall, viewers, that theropods are our meat-eating dinosaurs, which birds belong. They're bipeds. But Dilophosaurus is interesting because it's had a few positions as our understanding of the theropod tree of life has changed. So early on, in hypotheses of early dinosaur relationships, coelophysoids and ceratosaurs were kind of found to be this in the same early diverging clade. And now, in our understanding, coelophysoids are thought to be a much earlier diverging group versus ceratosaurs, which are avirostrids, which we'll discuss in a second. Anyway, so Dilophosaurus has been found as this kind of early coelophysoid, ceratosaur thing, but as the ages have rolled, it has been found within its own family on occasion. A group called Dilophosauridae has been found within coelophysids, and sometimes allied to ceratosaurs. The general consensus for its current location on the tree is that it is outside of coelophysoids, but it is not an avirostrid. So avirostrid are ceratosaurs plus everything else. So megalosaurs, allosaurids, tyrannosaurs, and all other coelophysours and birds. And there are a few interesting features in the skeleton of Dilophosaurus that kind of indicate its more primitive condition. One of these is that it has four metacarpals, and it has a bit, I think, at least a few articulated phalanges of the fourth digit, maybe one. And, as theropods evolve, you get that three-fingered hand that is sometimes reduced in other clades. Ceratosaurs also have an additional element. It also lacks an interior development of the pubic boot, and it doesn't really have a posterior one either. And this is something that in tetnurans is developed. The pubis is the kind of vent, is the downward pointing, and in many dinosaurs, anterior bone of the hip, and its front and back are often, depending on which species, either the front, back, or both can sometimes be expanded.
Oh, wow.
Dilophosaurus, that's not the
I've
case.
never looked at a Dilophosaurus pubis before. I just pulled one up. That's weird.
It's a weird rod.
Huh.
Yeah, no, it's a little funky. Anyway, so yeah, these are all kind of these more primitive, quote-unquote primitive features of Dilophosaurus. There appear to be some close relatives of Dilophosaurus, things like what Scott brought up. Sinosaurus, Sinosaurus,
Either.
Sinosaurus. Yeah,
Sinosaurus
said.
From China, and Dracovinator from South Africa.
What a cool name.
Very good name. Not a lot of Dracovinator, but it's a good name. Which were all these early Jurassic, and by all accounts, probably the largest predators in their ecosystem, that appeared to exist around the Cinemurian, so kind of like early in the early Jurassic. And then they go poof. And as we kind of alluded to earlier in the video, and we didn't really discuss these guys as much, but there appears to be the evolution of crests of almost Dilophosaurus-like crests in one or two species of coelophysoids too, right?
Yeah. Well, it would be. Was it Coelophysis kayentacati?
I don't remember, but maybe. And I
think so.
Air quotes Syntarsis. Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, so yeah, it's bounced around the tree. It is an early diverging theropod, but was. I'm gonna throw. Ooh, this is an exciting. Did it have feathers? Do we think that Dilophosaurus had feathers? That cut was because we were talking about something. Don't worry about it. Quiet your minds. Were early theropods like Dilophosaurus and Coelophysis fuzzy? Were they feathery? And we mentioned this actually, yes. I think in our Coelophysis video, we touch on this.
Hell, we touch about it in most of our pterosaur vids, because if pterosaurs had feathers,
yes,
then yes.
I also say yes, Scott. And that's because I think feathers are something all avimentotarsalians have in some way or another, even the biggest ones. I think if you looked at a sauropod with a magnifying glass, you'd see gross little filaments in between its scales that you would not be able to see, even if you were really standing next to it. That's just my opinion.
And it's a game opinion.
But yes, I think Dilophosaurus. I think Dilophosaurus was fluffy, at least a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really all I have. Is there anything about Phylogeny that... Oh, not really about Phylogeny, but it does have this kind of interesting feature. There's a bit of a kink between the premax and the maxilla.
And that is something that occurs quite a bit in theropods, actually. It pops up all over the place.
Not only in theropods, it happens a lot in archosaurs and archosauriforms from the late Permian through the Triassic. And I couldn't tell you why.
I'd be remiss to also not say that it's in Dimetrodon stuff too.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to propose a new hypothesis that I have no evidence for. But from the early Permian to the early Jurassic, there was an incredibly delicious and very slippery species of lungfish. And everybody liked to eat this lungfish. But you could only catch it if you had that premax max kink. So
I'm going to take it one further.
Oh, okay.
I think everything was slippery. There was a time when everything was slippery.
The great enslippening.
And we're not...
Welcome to the Devonian.
So, time to oil up now, yeah? Oil up for the party.
There are all those Triassic German cave fossils because they slipped and fell into a Carboniferous cave.
It's a slippery situation.
Please someone rescue us from this.
Well,
yeah.
No, I want to have that segue into a gripe I have about this model.
Yeah.
You mean that it has no notch?
Not only that it has no notch, the bitch doesn't have a premaxilla. They cut half the face off.
Why are you...
I'm not... It's doing this of its own accord.
What was that?
Why is it doing that?
Looking out at the notch. Looking out at the lack of a premaxilla on its face.
Yeah. Not to spoil my take on this, but I think the skull is one of the most offensive things in this game.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I very much dislike about, I like a lot of the creative license that is done with the Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus. I hate that its head is so foreshortened. I hate that it doesn't have a premaxilla. It doesn't have that characteristic kink. It is very boxy. It's so wide. Especially
that's the game
at the back.
one. I don't think that's I think the film one's much better.
It's better. It's not that much better.
It's pretty boxy.
It's
very boxy. I've been
its
looking
name is
at
boxy.
it. I've been Oh my god,
Wow.
stop it. You've
Deep
made this
cut.
joke before.
I know.
You made this joke in the Jurassic Park video.
I know.
Sorry, in the Velociraptor video.
Mm.
But so yeah, I've been looking at it in that scene off and on during this recording, and like it is very, very like triangular from the top down, and I really don't like that. Like there's actually we'll throw it up on screen right now, but I was gifted a model of a kind of air quotes accurate Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus that essentially just takes an accurate at the time Dilophosaurus skull and slaps the frill on it and stuff. It is such a prettier looking animal like that.
Oh, that's a
my
shame.
God.
Yeah, I'm looking at the. Do you have it? Can you show it?
Oh, let me go grab it.
I would
Yeah.
like to see this.
Be a good. Be a good boy. Go get the Dilophosaurus.
Bring me your thing.
Here we go.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's like really creepy looking.
I'll be honest. Yeah, that's spooky. He's a spooky guy.
Very
Mwah.
narrow. Like I
That's cool.
love how this looks. It's very cool. It also it has a fun, well, I guess formerly accurate skull
Mm.
on the base, because that is another thing that I do really like about the new like redescription of the material, is that Dilophosaurus was a whole lot of a beefier critter than we give it credit for, especially if you look at its lower jaw. Like,
Yeah.
and then also compare it to, I know it gets talked about in the paper and other things that like it was always said of just like, oh, it had a relatively weak bite force, and then we're finding like Cerosaurus fossils, which is a early sauropodomorph in the same ecosystem, that have like punctures through the bone that are made by a Dilophosaurus size animal. Just like,
So I do have one note before we go rank it, and Dalton, I think you can start to open the species viewer.
Sure,
if you
I'll
want.
take it to the bridge.
My copy of Predatory Dinosaurs of the World appears to be misprinted, and I'm missing about 20 pages.
Oh,
really?
Yep.
neat.
And they're
It's
the
Big Paleo
pages that
trying to censor
Dilophosaurus is
Gregory
on.
Paul.
Would you like me to
What
to find
pages
them?
is it? I can go grab
Scott,
it.
you go grab it.
Well,
I s-
Dalton's doing that. I'll go grab this.
I skipped between
I'll be right back.
256 and 289. There's just nothing.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, where is the section on Dilophosaurus? Because here's the Coelophysoids, which is what he considered at the time, and here we're at basal carnosaurs. What happened?
Censored.
I can't find it immediately, and I don't want to hold us up.
I mean, I'm looking at mine. Do we want to find out?
Then get it.
Okay.
I think we should just rank it. I think we should cover this in
Okay.
another thing.
Yeah, that's fine.
Personally, I just thought it
just
was worth
curious.
noting that I've got a rare misprinted version of the book, which is cool. Like,
Hey, that might be worth something.
it might be.
It might be worth less because it's missing content.
I'm just curious.
Price per page.
Yeah.
But so as I said in a section that we may or may not cut, I'm going to keep the movie colors because I like them the best.
That is another hot take that not even a hot take, it's a cold take. It's a freezing cold take, is that the only good colors for this animal in this game are the movie ones.
I do not love the colors they gave it. in
No, I
Dominion.
don't either.
Well, no. The colors that they gave it in Dominion are just like, hey, what if we took this really interesting looking, very brightly colored, very ostentatious animal and turned the saturation down to 0 and made it look bad? Cool. What if we take out all the patterns on it as well? What if we just airbrushed this thing and made it look terrible?
It's got an Instagram
Well
filter
done.
on.
Ugly. The ugly filter.
It's heinous.
All right. What do you think of this guy?
Amelia
Scott?
starts.
Wait, no, Amelia.
I like it a lot, and I don't care that it isn't accurate because it's honestly, it is probably my favorite animal in the entire franchise, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't know, it's so unique. I love the cute little sounds it makes, and just, I don't know, I like its dumb little short face. Yeah, no, I don't give a shit. I'm giving it an S because I love it. I don't care about accuracy really at all. when I'm ranking these things, especially unless it makes them look bad. And in my opinion, it doesn't look bad. Like, it looks the way it looks. So,
I respect
yeah,
that.
no. I love
Thank
it.
you for sharing.
So you give
Get
it an
her
S?
out of here.
I'm giving it an S. Yeah, no question. It makes cute little hoot sounds. Automatic S.
This is one for me where I'm torn because I really like the movie design as a piece of creature design, and I think this is a bad game model of it. And it disappoints. Like, I love in the movie that kind of like very limp, wet feeling that the frill has
Yeah.
around the
Yeah.
neck. Like, it looks really biological, and that's something I like about it. Like, it really does feel like an animal. I think it's actually one of the best realized dinosaurs in the movie too, because so much of it is animatronic, and it's such a beautiful puppet or series of puppets.
I don't think there's a single CGI shot of it.
No, it doesn't exist in CGI. It's all puppet. You're right,
Mhm.
which is cool. And they even have that like walking one that can hit the ground
Yeah.
and everything. Like, the sounds are all great. I love it. I just feel like the game model looks like out of proportion and wrong. The head is a little bit weird. I don't like the like kind of stiffness of the frill. It can't fold against the body properly. I don't really like the kind of very like humped profile of the rest of the body. The tail is really skinny and feels too short. The feet are a little bit too big. I don't know. It's just it doesn't really capture what it was in the movie for me. I kind of breed these in my parks only to get to a rating where I can breed something else. Um this is probably going to be the title of the video, so I do think I should mention that at one point when we were all playing this game over Discord, thinking about coming up with the channel at some point, um, I did have my Dilophosaurus continue to die, and because of their abbreviation of the game, I just shouted into the mic, "My Dil preserves are low," but here my Dil preserves are quite high. Um, it might not be the title of the video, who knows? But I felt like sharing that. I'm gonna give this a C. It is, I don't hate it, I just really don't love looking at it, and that's part, like, I think mostly because it does not live up to the movie model for me. It's not an accuracy thing, it's just I don't really like looking at the game model. It doesn't feel like a real animal.
I am gonna echo the things that James said, that like this is also not an accuracy thing. I think that some more accurate skull anatomy would probably make it look better, but I also think that the Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus is one of the most iconic designs for a reason. It is emulated in so many things. It is something that like even if people don't know it by name, they know it by reputation. It is the often imitated, never replicated. Only once replicated, and it was bad. But like it really is. I don't know what it is about the game model. It looks weird. It almost looks a little cartoony.
I think I figured it
like
out, but I'll save it for mine.
what? Okay, yeah. Like I want to like it because I do really like the movie design. But it's just it doesn't scratch the itch for me, and I think I'm also gonna give it a C.
Damn. Well, you heard it here, folks. However, I'm here to give my opinion. And my opinion is that this animal is from the Kayenta Formation, which we forgot to say.
Oh yeah.
Which is an important and cool place in the early Jurassic.
We definitely said it. That I said that
we didn't really
it was
discuss the Kayenta.
Oh no, I
as
just
a
said it was on Navajo.
seasonally arid floodplain, probably.
This is Alex's opinion.
This is my opinion, where I'm also going to tell you that it's a cool place that has a lot of early transitional amphibians, like Sicilians with legs, ancient frogs. There are turtles, these really early diverging turtles, and a mess of kind of cool dinosaurs, like Coelophysis.
And Kyantotherium,
early Jurassic
weird head.
Coelophysoids, possibly some ornithischians, but more importantly than all of this, there are crocodilomorphs here. And some pretty cool ones, if you don't mind me saying. Things like Kyantosuchus, which is a Sphenosuchian, something near and dear to my heart, but also Ionomatosuchus and Chalcoiasuchus, these really early important crocodilomorphs for the understanding of kind of the evolution of the more advanced group. Anyway, my opinion about this animal is that it is a D for Dilophosaurus. Allow me to explain. One, I think the movie design is an A. I love it. And there's something in the movie puppet that makes the neck look really kind of like weird and tubular and gross that I don't get the feeling of in this one. And I hate the heads. The only thing that is keeping it from... Do we have an F rating?
Not yet. This is the
a
lowest
high
you
D.
can give.
A high D. The only thing keeping me from putting it the lowest is the sounds it makes are so good that I could even be convinced to make it a C-. There's some of the best. I'm saying a low C because I thought about it and I really like the sounds. That is my opinion.
Okay. So I share some of the sentiment as what everyone else has said. I love the movie design. It's iconic. It's classic. It's in the movie for less than like 10 minutes, and everyone knows what it is and remembers it fondly. And like I was talking to my mom earlier today, and she's like, "Oh, what are you recording?" I was like, "Oh, Dilophosaurus." She's like, "Oh, the little spitters," and I was like, "Yeah. They're the little spitters. They're great." This is something weird happened and got a little bit lost in translation, making it into the game. And I almost wonder if the primary reference was a toy. And I think that can explain a bit of like why the feet are too big, because like a lot of like theropod toys have big feet so they don't fall over. The tail's kind of weird because the same thing, like it's to help balance out a toy. The knobby like shoulder is like an articulating action figure. The frill I think is probably more a computational thing of like how are they going to add this weird element. I think that's just a consequence of making it a game. I don't like it, but I don't hold it against the design.
I'll also just I know you're ranking, but I will put a little asterisk on the frill thing because I know that the design of the frill changed from Evolution 1 to Evolution 2. That in Evolution 1 it was like when the frill wasn't extended, it was like a texture on the neck, and then in Evolution 2 they made it so it was actually a still permanent part that you could see like back against the neck when it wasn't in use. But I'll just say that as my piece.
What I really hate about it is looking at it move from the side. It looks like the neck is like pistoning in and out of the frill.
Well, he's trying to inflate his gular display structure. He's pumping air in.
I dislike this so much.
He's got like a balloon animal pump. It's weird, but I love what it's going for so much that I'm going to give some of these weird things a bit more of a pass. And I'm going to exercise some control in the last seat here. Amelia, you said S, and we have an S and 3 C's. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
I think that this animal should be in B tier. I think that's a perfect place for it. We don't have a lot of things there. And so I'm going to rank this in S tier so that by the math work, it will go to B tier. Alex, you have a question?
Can I change mine to a D?
No. You've... What has been said has been spoken. S tier for me.
All right.
What you have done is
am I
cowardice.
breaking the system too much by doing this? Does this ruin the game?
I think this is voter manipulation.
Yeah, this is...
I demand to recount.
Stop the steal. Stop watching the video when I rank it, everyone.
If I'm on it, okay. And I kind of feel bad about it.
Be honest with yourself.
It's a B. I think this is a B, and I think that's the perfect place for it to go.
Well, then you should score it as a B, as you believe in it, so we can make it a C.
Well, I don't know if it's going to average out that way. We got to use the Adamolos math. I'll rank it B.
You do need to use the Adamolos math.
I rank it as B. And now we have to figure out what that means.
Well, I think it's a C, right? So you've got... If we say that S is 5.
Yeah.
A is 4, B is 3,
mm-hmm.
C is 2, D is 1. It's just the average of all of that, right? So
that puts it at 2.8.
Well,
which we're rounding,
I think, up to a C.
No,
to a B.
That'd be
right?
up to a B.
Up to a B.
Okay.
All right.
I mean,
I don't know. It has 2 in the
I'll put it.
start.
I'm happy with it at the lowest of B.
D.
I think that's where it goes. So, also, who's doing the tier list? Scott, were you going to do
Me.
that?
I already have it up.
You do.
I
Okay,
always
great.
do.
Okay, I'm going
Great.
to stop recording.
This is a vile manipulation.
I'm not even manipulating now.
He said B. It's
He
getting
stopped
B.
manipulating the votes when he realized he didn't have to get the results he wanted.
He can be principled and also get the
I
results.
play
he
both
wants.
sides, so I always come out on top.
Let's come out on top. This is. I was too kind. I let the cute hoots.
Oh yeah, the
This is a
sound.
D.
I didn't mention it. The sound is a huge factor for me too. It makes some of the best sounds in the game.
Oh, they're
yeah.
so good.
Oh, I mean, I
I'm-
was watching the scene again. You know what I really like? That scene where it's looking at Nedry right before it starts doing the frill, when its sides are heaving and you can see its ribs.
Yeah,
through
and-
the-
Yeah,
Like-
that's great.
like
Mhm.
it feels like a reptile in
Yeah.
like the best way in that. I love it.
I do also love that you hear it breathing heavily before that, like it's getting ready to do it. Like you just
Yeah.
hear it like bellowsing, just
Yeah.
and then
God.
it's so cool.
I miss when movies were made by people who were passionate
No.
and knew what they
All
were
right,
doing.
come on. Yes,
Sorry.
we all do.
Unionize, and they did.
All right. And with that, Dilophosaurus gets a very well-earned B.
This is.
Nice.
This is. I don't know what this is. They need to invent a new word for the crime that this is.
I just don't care about any of those details. And like when I see it, I see the movie one, even if that's not what it is, because that's how I think of this animal. I can look past his flaws. I know what he could be.
I can fix
You don't
it.
know him like I do.
God, who are you? The girlfriend in Little Shop of Horrors.
And
Hey,
with that,
Spin that wheel!
Spin that wheel! Oh God, it's bad. I can't even tell what it's close to hitting. Yay! It's
orange.
that.
Oh, Pachyderm!
Pachyrhinosaurus.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yay! All right, that'll be a fun one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. We can talk about Wooly.
Yeah, we might have to.
Woolly bully.
Woolly bully. So anyway, I
I
think
started blasting.
so that's the end of the video. It has been 2 hours and we have another video we have to record tonight. So I'm going to very quickly thank the wonderful people who support us on Patreon.
Also like and
who-
subscribe and comment.
Yeah. I'll say all the YouTuber stuff. Like, subscribe, comment, whatever it is. Comment again. Comment repeatedly. Please, it helps us in the algorithm. We actually do see a benefit when you comment a lot of times on the video. It's more people see the video as a result. It's a very
Send
cool
us
thing
money.
you can do. Send us money if you can
Send
and
us-
want to.
Your credit card.
Don't do that. That's a crime.
What?
Don't,
What's your social security number? Let us
It's
know.
your mom's maiden name.
Yes. But I want to thank the couple of patrons who are extremely generous and support us at our Gorgosaurus tiers and higher verbally. We do thank all of our patrons, and all of your names will be scrolling in the video now. But our highest tier patrons are, in the order that Patreon tells me their names: Benjamin Seepser, nickname 3110, Philip Fico, Andrew Niddle, Christopher Bellis Jones, Dan O'Kyrus, King Zashu, Max Ironpaw, original username, Pythonic, Riley Sharrow, Swamp Ape Science, and Wheat. Thank you all so much for your support. Everything that you do for us really helps us keep this channel running, make all the videos as good as they can be, and keep the content wheel a churning as we churn out videos that are, increasingly devoid of any artistic inspiration, and so are best described as content rather than a piece of art that we've produced. It's like meal prep as opposed to cooking.
Golly, I
Right.
sure do love capitalism.
We love it.
Min-max your life.
But in all seriousness, we enjoy making these videos a lot, and the support you guys give us really helps us justify taking the time and effort that we need to make them good for you. And so we really appreciate it. Final reminder, our fundraiser is still going. And you have about a week from when this video drops until November 25th, 2023, to donate to a wonderful cause that helps support the next generation of paleontologists as they take their first steps into this field. And I think that's a really special thing. And I think Most of the skeleton crew agrees.
Yes.
Amelia has gone on the record saying that there should not be any more paleontologists. So,
It is the only moral action.
Sorry, I was muted.
I know it made it much funnier to just see you just go what, but no sound came out. No, all of us, even Amelia, want there to be more paleontologists, and they want this. We want this
I'm
to
gonna
be.
go on the record to say that I've done most of the organizing for this fundraiser.
That's
I
why I'm making fun of
personally
you.
hand wrote all the little letters for the stickers that I dropped in the mail today. That took me like
Nice.
several hours yesterday. You've all got special little doodles that vary in quality.
Oh.
Because I did them in pen,
They
so you
va-
get what you get.
I bet you all can't wait until you get them. Anyway, what I was trying to say and make a joke about, because Amelia did do a lot of the organizing for this fundraiser, the lion's share of it. So she is obviously a supporter of this goal, as we all are. We want paleontology to be a more inclusive community. We want people, no matter their circumstances or background or whatever, to be able to pursue a career here if they want to, right? Yeah. Academia is tough. There's a lot of challenges inherent in it. One of those challenges should not be that to get the first opportunity that even gives you a chance, that you need to either work for very little money or pay money for the opportunity. And that is what we're trying to help make sure it doesn't have to happen here through this fundraiser. So we appreciate anything that you can contribute to that cause. If you've already donated, thank you so much. And we will see you next time on the Skeleton Crew when we talk about a big guy with a really, really thick nose. See you
And
later,
we're not talking
everybody.
about James.
Bye-bye.